Okay, so now I'm finished cutting out the back cushions and I'm getting ready to cut out the seat cushions. So one thing with striped fabric is your stripes from your back cushion should match the stripes on your seat cushion. So they should run down your back and match up in the crevice at the bottom of your seat and line up straight with your seat cushions. That makes things harder when you're cutting out your fabric. If you are a beginner, I would say use a solid fabric for sure to start out with. Don't use a pattern. Definitely don't use a stripe because there's just too much matching patterns. Since I already cut my back cushion out of this piece right here, I should be able to continue on and use this for my seat cushion, and my stripes will line up perfectly here. So I'll measure that. Hopefully that's going to be deep enough and we'll be able to just use this same stripe. So for my depth on my seat cushions, I need 26.5 inches, and it looks like I'm gonna make it. Yipper. Hallelujah. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure that my stripes are still, no, my stripes are off over here. Oh, my fabric got a little bit off, so there it is, and that's where I cut it, so that's a good sign. And I know I'm gonna go to there because that's where that one's cut. Let's make sure I'm all lined up. Yep, that stripe's there. Yep. Make sure I'm still lined up down here. Yes, my stripes are exactly on top of each other, so that's awesome. And so I know that the way this is working out is it's 1 inch past this last stripe. So not only does your seat cushion and your back cushion need to line up. So your seat back cushion is here and it needs to line up with the seat cushion. So these stripes need to come down the back and line directly up with the seat cushions. And then on the front of the cushion, the boxing stripe also needs to line up with this stripe. If you had a pattern and it was a big floral, if it's a big pattern, you would want to have the main floral right in the center of the back cushion and then the same floral in the center of this cushion, depending upon how your drop is and how much waste you will have if you do it that way. You might want to run your fabric down and have the pattern match here so that the pattern goes from the back onto the seat and then repeats again here. So maybe you have your negative space in the center of this cushion and your negative space in the center of that cushion, depending upon how your repeat is and if it makes sense to do it that way because of waste. So that's something that you have to figure out when you are calculating your yardage and when you're laying out your patterns, is how you want to place your pattern on your furniture. So that's there's a lot involved with that. Generally, when you have a big pattern, there's a lot of waste. If you have a tiny pattern that's like here, that makes a little diamond and it's small, there's not as much waste there. But if you're going to do a large floral, you generally have a lot of waste and it's expensive. So I just recommend, if you're new, start with solids. Okay, so I'm ready to start assembling my cushions. I've got all my pieces cut. I've got all 3 back cushions cut out, the seat cushions cut out. This is my boxing for all of the cushions. I've even got my zipper panels made for all my cushions. So I am ready to start assembling these. Okay, since all my pieces are cut for all of my cushions, I'm now assembling them. When you're using a patterned fabric or a striped fabric, I find that the only way to keep the patterns from shifting when you're sewing is to pin. And with a stripe, I like to go ahead and pin right on each of the stripes. So I've got one side pinned on completely. This side is pinned on completely, and now I'm going to pin on the other side. Just line it up, and I'll start in the center, pin each stripe. Okay, so now I'm into the corner here, so I've got to cut my notches. Turn that corner, just like that. Pin. And now we're on the sides, so the stripes will be perpendicular to the others. So this one, I don't have to put so many pins here. I'm actually going to turn my pins around and go to this side of the fabric. So once my cushions are all pinned, I've got this one pinned, I already sewed the other one, I've got this one pinned. Now I'm going to go ahead and pin all my seat cushions, and then I will sit down and sew all of my cushions together, and then I will go ahead and insert the zipper panel in all of them. I kind of like to batch all of my processes so that I can get a good rhythm going. So with the pinning, I like to do that because then I make sure that I have, you just get a good rhythm and you get a process for what you're doing, and then I'll sit down with all of these cushions at once and sew them all together so that I'm not, if I get distracted or get a phone call or get pulled away from what I'm doing, I know exactly where I'm at. I've got all my work in one spot and I can sit down and go back to it easier than if I had been sewing one cushion and had the rest of them ready for pinning. Just batching the process is a lot more organized and faster for me. All right, I'm going to just show you real quick what I did with the boxing, because your boxing, I needed 72-inch boxing in order to go around my cushions. Therefore, I had to seam together 2 strips of fabric, and you have to keep your pattern the same. Otherwise, if you don't make sure you have the same distance between stripes, then this won't match up with your seams. So you just have to make sure that you sew this together with, basically, you're overlapping. So like there's the stripe and there's the stripe underneath there. So there's your seam. So does that make sense? You'll have to kind of play with it. That way you have the same amount of distance from here to here. So that way when you lay your boxing down, this is still the same distance and your stripes will still line up. So you just want to be careful you don't sew this on too short, because then your stripes won't line up anymore. That's my tip. Okay, so I've got almost all the cushions sewn. I've got the boxing in on 3 sides all the way around, and then the bottom is open and ready for my zipper placket. So that's ready to go in. And I pinned the zippers in too. So if I had a commercial sewing machine more years in on cushion making, then I would probably not have to pin. The upholstery workroom that I worked in, the gal that made all the cushions didn't pin a thing. So as far as the pattern goes, on most of my cushions I did not match the pattern on the zipper placket, because obviously you're not going to see this. This is the back of the bottom cushion that's going to be pushed up to the back of the sofa, and then and what I will do is I will pin these together. And over here as well, edge to edge. Okay, and now I'll take this to the sewing machine and I will sew straight across here, straight across this edge, and then what we do is we flatten that out corner to corner, and it will automatically create a little pocket for the zipper. And over here. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, sew across here, and then I'll show you what I mean. So I sewed across both ends, that end and that end, and I just walk it right across that zip. Okay, so I came around the corner and sewed down about 1 inch with the original boxing. So now all I have to do is sew from pretty much about right here, like 1 inch off of the corner, sew there, and straight down to the other end, and that's it. I keep equal pressure behind here. I hold this and hold here so that my fabric will stay flat and I don't get any puckering. There we go. You just sew down to that stitch line there. Okay, you generally want to keep your zipper open a little bit so you can get in there. But now let me show you how this looks and what I mean by the pocket. Push the corners out. Normally I'd use a beige zipper in here, but I ran out of zipper pull, so I had to use my white zipper. Okay, so there's what I mean by the pocket. It creates that little pocket there. And you can do these deeper. These are actually pretty shallow. That's how that looks. And then that way the zipper closes and it's right up in there. You don't even see the zipper pull. It's protected. That lifted up. There's the zipper pull. Okay, so I'm about to stuff the cushion into here. This is the old cushion. So see, they did it on the sides of the cushion rather than on the bottom, and that's totally fine too. That actually is the way I do it when I'm doing seat cushions, but because this is actually a back cushion and this is really flexible and not so firm, you can stuff your cushion, stuff this a lot easier. And I'm actually gonna open this up and add some more stuffing to this. When you start stuffing, you think, oh my gosh, how on earth is all this gonna fit in there? But then it goes in there, and then it's actually, I wish I'd have made these a little bit, these cushion covers even a little smaller. Make sure you poke out your corners. Now all the cushions are done, and I will move on to sewing the slipcover body. So if you want to see the process of how I'm making the slipcover with the waterfall skirt, click on this video right here.